Welcome back, Devils fans. It is your host, Ace, here on Running with the Devils, where we are talking New Jersey Devils hockey all year long. Please hit that subscribe button, smash the like, share with a friend. Thank you very much. And friends, it is going to be a miserably long offseason. Wow. Can't wait for next season. But anyway, a couple news and tidbits came out from the Devils today. The first one being that Tomas Tatar has signed with a team in Switzerland. Tomas Tatar will not be returning next season. I do not think this comes as a surprise to anyone. I am sure the front office told Tuna that unfortunately you are not part of next year's plans as we look to figure something out for that bottom six. We all know the bottom six was pretty dreadful for most of the season, and they continued to be dreadful in the playoffs. And Fitz has his work cut out for him. And so a lot of people were kind of going back and forth on what players might be brought back, which ones might not be. The first domino falls. Tomas Tatar decides to go to Switzerland, and I guess that probably means that he didn't think he was going to get a crack back at the NHL. I mean, maybe a team would have, offered him a low contract for a depth piece, but he probably thought his best chance to continue playing and for money was to go to Switzerland, and so Tuna is officially no longer a New Jersey Devil. We see the thank you Tuna post on the Devils Instagram. And yeah, I mean, there are some great memories of Tuna. It did seem like he was a great locker room guy, respected by his teammates. We'll always remember him as part of that special 22-23 team. And we look back at the stats. He first came to the Devils in 21-22. He had 15 goals and 15 assists for 30 points in 76 games played in that 21-22 season. And then that magical season, 22-23. 82 games played. He played every single game, didn't miss one. 20 goals, 28 assists for 48 points, and a plus 41. What a season for Tuna there. And then he went to the Avalanche the following season. He registered only 1 goal and 8 assists for 9 points in 27 games with them before he was moved to the Kraken. Played 43 games with them, 8 goals, 7 assists for 15 points. And so you see the production dipped quite a bit from that magical 22-23 season to the next season for him. And after the 23-24 season, Fitzy went on a shopping spree in free agency. Yes, we did. We brought in Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon, traded for Markey, traded for Cotter, brought in Nason. And ultimately, with the cap restrictions he had, he took a gamble. Obviously, we did not re-sign Tyler Toffoli in that offseason, and Fitz took a pretty sizable gamble on replacing him with Tomas Tatar, hoping that he would be a legitimate top 6 piece for the Devils. And unfortunately, that did not pan out, my friends. No, it didn't. The magic was not recaptured. And unfortunately, that was a whiff for Fitz in that offseason. But I have to say, I've talked about it plenty of times. I thought that offseason was great with all those other holes that were addressed. But Tatar replacing Toffoli, super hopeful, super wishful, did not pan out. And in the 74 games in this 24-25 season, Tuna only registered 7 goals and 10 assists for 17 points, which was pretty brutal. Did not register any points in the playoffs, and so here we are. The first piece has moved on, and the quest to rebuild and revamp that bottom 6 continues. Hopefully Fitz has some tricks up his sleeve. Really hope he does, because that is going to be a big agenda item for the offseason for the New Jersey Devils, aside from others, but the biggest one, I think, looming over the franchise at the moment is how are you going to reconstruct this bottom 6 with the cap restrictions we're going to have? We've talked about this before, guys. With the cap going up and Luke getting that raise, there's not going to be a lot of money to address some of these needs. And I do fully believe that Gritsuk will be on the opening day roster for sure, probably starting out in the bottom 6, and he's on an entry-level contract. Love to see a guy that you could plug into the lineup, not making a ton of money to help the team address the other needs with the cap restrictions, but we will see how it plays out into the summer. Maybe we pick up some free agents. Maybe some other young guys play their way onto the roster out of camp. That's something to keep an eye on, but Tomas Tatar officially done as a New Jersey Devil. And then we move on to the other bit of news. Here's the headline. Shaw joins Devils as assistant coach. Shaw joins Sheldon Keefe's staff and will start in official capacity on July 1. This was kind of rumored, I believe, last week, and here it is official. The New Jersey Devils today announced that they have an agreement with Bradshaw to join the organization as an assistant coach on Sheldon Keefe's staff. He will start in an official capacity on July 1. The announcement was made by President General Manager Tom Fitzgerald. Shaw, 61, was with the Philadelphia Flyers for the past 3 seasons. He finished last season as the club's interim head coach, taking over from John Tortorella on March 27, 2025, and posting a 5-3-1 record Shaw was originally hired as an assistant coach on July 5th, 2022. Shaw served as assistant coach for the Vancouver Canucks during the 21-22 season and for the Columbus Blue Jackets from the 16-17 to 2021. Columbus reached the Stanley Cup playoffs in 4 of his 5 years there. Blah, 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 blah. It goes on to talk about, the rest of his experience in the league, his experience in the AHL, etc., some more of his background. And in the end, it is what it is. Now Sheldon Keefe is putting more of his own fingerprint on his coaching staff. He did have a lot of holdovers when he came over. Guys that were still on Lindy Ruff's staff remained on his. And now it looks like he's making the first kind of move to, again, put his fingerprint on the coaching staff, bringing in Bradshaw. I can't really comment too much on this type of move. I do believe that if it's a guy that Sheldon Keefe wants, I believe that will be beneficial to Keefe and the systems he's trying to implement and the style he's trying to get the guys to play. And so whenever a coach could bring in his own guy or guys, I do like that. But in the end, it's an assistant coach move. I don't think this is going to move the needle dramatically one way or another. I do believe a lot of you in the past have been overly critical of both assistant coaches and position coaches. And you guys know who I'm talking about. But I personally have to put the onus more so on players than assistant coaches and position coaches. I know a lot of people point and say, oh, this guy's ruined all these guys, and this guy was coaching the penalty kill or the power play and it sucked and blah, blah, blah. But in the end, I do think a lot of times coaches get too much flack when teams underperform, whether that's special teams or, the overall team. Sometimes it is the coach that has to go to shake up a locker room or a team and to further push towards the ultimate goal of winning a Stanley Cup. But hopefully Shaw could help. He has a lot of experience in both the AHL and the NHL. He's been a lot of places. And hopefully this is a guy that Keefe thinks will help round out his coaching staff to help push this New Jersey Devils team closer to a Stanley Cup. Whew. Wow, guys, I'm getting a little rusty out here. The offseason is just, there's not a lot going on. In the next few weeks, I do expect things to pick up as we get closer to the draft and free agency. But wow, kind of boring time for the Devils right now. And we'll see how the summer goes. Hopefully we get some pieces in place to make this team better for next season. I've been enjoying watching the playoffs. Obviously, the Florida Panthers I have talked about time and time again in the past couple of years. And they're the model franchise, guys. If you're watching these games, you see the ingredients that teams in this league need to win and to go far into the playoffs and to push for a cup. The Panthers have some absolute dogs. And for all the people that are like, physicality doesn't matter, and all you people overemphasize physicality, watch the games with your eyes. Watch the games. Obviously, yes, you need skill, but you also need grit, physicality, sandpaper. You need junkyard dogs. You need warriors. This is the Stanley Cup playoffs. And guys are leaving it all out there. I mean, wow. To see Tkachuk just go ragdoll Aho, and obviously I hate the Canes and hate Sebastian Aho, and to see a guy like Matthew Tkachuk go out there and just ragdoll him and take him to task for being a little rat. Unbelievable stuff. I don't know how you guys could watch these games and not see exactly what myself and plenty of other more old school fans, but it's not only old school fans. It is some newer fans that recognize the nuances in the game as well. But largely the contingency is more so people my age and probably a little bit older, the longtime fans that have seen teams over the years win with this ingredient. And you need it to win. Period. I do think last season the Devils took a step in that right direction, bringing in Cotter and Nason. I love both of their games. I thought they both had pretty decent seasons. They obviously both cooled off as the season went on. They both started off white hot and were just tearing it up and couldn't sustain that. I mean, I didn't expect them to. But those are two guys that are going to go to war for you in the playoffs, and we need a few more guys like that. But look no further than these playoffs. Just watch the games. There's guys willing to do what it takes to win, and sometimes that's sacrificing the body, going after guys, sticking up for your teammates. And watching the Panthers is just, it makes you really, at least myself, and I know a lot of you, want to see the Devils just raise their game to that level by bringing in some of these guys. But you need to be tough in the playoffs, guys, and if you haven't kind of come around on that point by now, I don't know what it's going to take, but watch the playoffs. Every single year, the playoffs are a fresh reminder for the people that may have forgot. Not for me. I talk about it during the season. I'll never forget. I've seen the Devils win cups and plenty of other teams that had that ingredient. The Devils aren't quite there yet, but hopefully they get closer this summer and maybe during the season next year, but you see what it takes to win. And the Panthers are the model franchise in the league right now, and I do think they're going to repeat as Cup champs, going to 3 Cup finals in a row. My God, what a job Zito has done down there in Florida. And really, Matthew Tkachuk was the turnaround of the franchise. It's unbelievable. But I think that's all I got for you guys. Hopefully, some stuff comes out soon. I'll be back soon working on a ton of stuff. Let me know what you think about anything I said in this video. Anything, everything New Jersey Devils hockey or the Cup playoffs, throw it out there in the comments. I enjoy talking to all of you. I'll be back soon. Thank you all for watching. Like, comment, subscribe, and all that jazz. Until next time, friends, let's go.